Staying up late to see the premiere of a show that if you asked me about a month ago, I wouldn't have had too much excitement to share about it was something that I wasn't expecting to do. But wouldn't you know it, the idea of the Creature Commandos had slowly grown on me, and though I do think that launching the DCU with an adult animated series is the wrong play, there's still loads of fun to be had with this. Welcome to Sandwich Reviews. I'm the Talking Sentient Sandwich, and nothing about Creature Commandos screamed, this is a story that needs to be told, because it's already dubiously similar to the Suicide Squad. However, if you go into it with that in mind, it truly does feel like a spiritual and sometimes literal continuation of that story. Besides, I don't know about you, but so long as there are new characters and dynamics to explore, which having an endless rotating roster is kind of the point of Task Force X or M, I would happily watch a dozen shows with this same format. And that's mainly because these characters are all entertaining to watch, complex, and most of all compelling, because all of them have pasts that I can't wait to dive into. They fit the same archetypes that James Gunn is no stranger to, and I instantly recognize Nina's character as the innocent member of the team. You know, the heart and soul. Though I can't wait to see more of her, I could also tell that she's 50% Ratcatcher and 50% King Shark, even using similar beats to endear them. And on first thought, one would also think, are Frankenstein's monster and his bride even in the DC comics? But yes, they are. They're also in Marvel comics, because anyone in public domain, or just up for grabs, probably exists in a superhero universe. I also wasn't in love with the animation, having the occasional cheaper moment, but that was balanced with some standout action beats, all of which are accentuated with a slight camera shift with each punch, and I loved that. And throughout, the lighting and flow really works, even having an amazing shot early on with noir Venetian blinds. I doubt it takes a long time to do that, but the animators didn't have to add that detail, but they did, and the show is all the better for it. I should also bring up that, similar to Invincible, I'm guessing a lot of parents are going to just put this on for their kid, not knowing that it's very TVMA. Every trailer and piece of promotional material for this has done a good job at showing that, but I'm just saying, no matter what, someone's gonna complain. But regardless, because that has no effect on the story, Creature Commandos is something I will unexpectedly be counting down the minutes to release for each week. There's maybe one moment of not juggling its mix of comedy and drama as well as it could've, but aside from that one instance, this show is a perfect blend of hilarious and heartfelt. So if you're on the lookout for another great adult animated series, check out the 2-episode premiere of Creature Commandos, because it's a 40-minute time period that will fly by. But now that I've exhausted my discussion of generalities, it's time to talk spoilers. And I don't have much to add about the show's premiere, more so that I just want to talk about the small peeks we've gotten of the new world the DCU is set in. But before that, let's talk about the heart-wrenching origins of the bride, which was a nice speedrun of that story without sacrificing too much of its emotional weight. Although, right after, it then cuts to still frames and needle drops a very tonally different song to what we were seeing. After only 5 or so seconds, I had settled into the scene and was having fun with what had transitioned into a montage, but it was jarring. There's also a scene early on where Flag and Waller were getting exposition from the news, and I feel like I have to bring this up because I have a whole video about why I think that's a lazy cliche, but in this particular case, it worked because the scene started with them just watching the TV, as if they'd been watching it for a while. In addition to that, I thought G.I. Robot constantly being disappointed that he couldn't kill Nazis was a pretty one-note joke, but it was the scene where Flag tells him that Dr. Phosphorus wasn't a Nazi and couldn't kill him that got a healthy chuckle out of me. It was just something in the way that G.I. muttered under his breath. And since I'm on that scene, right after that, when the car peels out, the screen cuts to black for a suspiciously long time, and I was so scared that the episode was over. And that's because I really like this show, and I just can't wait to tune in every week for more. One complaint I see going around is that Rick Flag Sr. is a write-in for James Gunn himself, and I honestly do kinda see it, but I haven't seen enough of this show to actually speak to that. In spite of that though, if I were to talk about it, all that needs to be said is that I already like the character enough to not care. But let's move on to a short discussion of this new DCU, which by the way, I don't love that name. The only reason I use it is because the name was shown in one of the Creature Commandos trailers, but I'll happily call it anything else if it's renamed. But until it is, I'll keep calling it the DCU, and I am so excited for it. There were small hints at it in the premiere of Creature Commandos, such as the fact that Amazonians and the island of Themyscira is somewhat known, but still kinda seen as a myth. An interesting concept that I'm sure will be expanded upon in this series or years down the line. But what really piqued my interest was Picolistan's superpowered military, or at least the guards we saw were in this knight armor that I assume enhances them. It could just be me that got this implication, but that just said to me that most of the militaries of this world have superpowered divisions. And in a world like this, where metahumans are common, that is pretty necessary. But that brings me to the last point that I want to mention, how this world being introduced, according to James Gunn and not so much the premiere of Creature Commandos, is a sci-fi world. And fun fact, DC's Earth isn't remotely the same as our Earth. It's like 10% bigger because it's gotta fit all of these different nations and cities. But that's only one example of how the DC status quo is so different to our own. And I can't wait to see more of this new world being introduced, from other nations to obscure comic references to the most popular and iconic of DC heroes. But really, I'm just tired of seeing superheroes in our own world, because if they were real, our timeline would have diverged long ago. And that seems to be exactly what the DCU is doing. But if you've seen the 2-episode premiere of Creature Commandos, what did you think of it? Has it made you more excited for the future of the DCU? Maybe less? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for weekly videos on or before every Saturday, reviews whenever I'm able to watch something, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.